Before dawn had fully settled over Caracas, the sound of gunfire shattered the calm near the heart of Venezuela's government. Armored vehicles rolled through streets, usually reserved for official convoys. Soldiers took defensive positions near key institutions, and reports of explosions rippled across the capital. What began as scattered alerts on social media quickly evolved into confirmation from international agencies. Venezuela was facing one of the most serious security crises in its modern history. The unrest unfolded just days after a dramatic US military operation removed President Nicolás Maduro from power, setting off a chain of political, military, and diplomatic consequences that continue to escalate both inside Venezuela and beyond its borders. Heavy weapons fire was reported in the vicinity of the Miraflores Presidential Palace, the symbolic and operational center of Venezuela's executive authority. Videos circulating online showed uniformed soldiers, armored personnel carriers, and air defense units deployed around government buildings in central Caracas. Witness accounts also described loud detonations and the activation of anti-aircraft systems. According to sources cited by international media, Venezuelan security forces responded to unidentified aerial objects detected above the palace complex. These objects were later described as drones, though their origin and purpose have not been officially confirmed. Despite the intensity of the response, officials speaking to foreign news agencies indicated that control had been restored and that no further escalation was underway at the time of reporting. The security incident occurred against the backdrop of a sudden and unprecedented political rupture. Only days earlier, US Special Forces conducted an operation inside Venezuela that resulted in the capture of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores. Following their removal, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in as interim president. In her first public statements, she condemned the operation as a direct violation of Venezuelan sovereignty and characterized it as foreign military intervention. Security forces were placed on high alert nationwide, with troop mobilizations reported in Caracas and other strategic locations. Government institutions moved quickly to secure communication hubs, military installations, and transportation corridors amid fears of further instability. According to multiple reports, the US military operation involved coordinated air and ground components designed to extract President Maduro and transfer him to the United States. American officials stated that the mission's objective was to bring him before a US court to face long-standing charges related to drug trafficking and weapons offenses. Venezuelan authorities confirmed that the operation resulted in significant casualties among military personnel assigned to protect the president. Civilian areas were also affected, though an official domestic casualty figure has not yet been released. US officials have maintained that the airstrikes conducted during the operation were intended to provide tactical cover and suppress resistance during the extraction. As more details emerged, the human cost of the operation became clearer. According to reporting by major international outlets, the death toll has risen to at least 80 people, including both soldiers and civilians. Cuban authorities announced that 32 of their citizens were among those killed. These individuals were described as military and technical personnel stationed in Venezuela as part of bilateral cooperation agreements. Cuba declared national days of mourning, with its leadership honoring those who died during the operation. Tributes were also issued by Venezuelan officials, who emphasized the role of foreign allies in supporting the country's defense infrastructure. After being transported to New York, President Maduro appeared before a US judge, where he rejected all accusations brought against him. He characterized his detention as unlawful and described himself as a combatant captured during a military conflict rather than a criminal defendant. The proceedings marked a rare and highly controversial moment in international relations, as the head of a sitting government was brought before a foreign court following a direct military action. Washington has insisted that the legal process is justified under US law. while Venezuela's leadership argues that the charges are politically motivated and aimed at forcing regime change. Global reaction to the events has been swift and divided. Russia and China both issued statements condemning the US operation, describing it as a breach of international law and a dangerous precedent. At the United Nations, Russian officials labeled the raid an act of international lawlessness. Cuban leadership echoed those sentiments, framing the operation as an attack not only on Venezuela, but on regional sovereignty more broadly. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump stated that no American service members were killed during the mission, though unnamed officials later acknowledged that several soldiers sustained injuries. Media reports suggest that the US bombardment struck several strategic targets, including military facilities, communication nodes, and supply depots. Venezuelan officials claim that some strikes affected civilian areas, an allegation US authorities have not confirmed. Key questions remain unresolved. Who operated the drones detected over the presidential palace? Was the gunfire in Caracas connected to an internal uprising or an external threat? And how stable is Venezuela's interim leadership amid ongoing international pressure? Venezuela now finds itself navigating a moment of profound uncertainty. With its former president in US custody, an interim government facing internal security threats, and international divisions deepening, the country stands at a critical crossroads. While officials insist that order has been restored in Caracas, the events of recent days have reshaped Venezuela's political landscape and reignited global debate over sovereignty, intervention, and the limits of power in international affairs. As investigations continue and diplomatic tensions rise, the situation remains fluid, and the world is watching closely to see what comes next.